You on here are data managers and EMIS coordinators. You may or may not have students assigned to you. If you have students assigned to you for the assessment window, you could actually see what the teacher sees. If you don't have students assigned to you, then I want you to see what teachers see. So this is a snapshot of a child in the score sheet that a teacher could use, that they're using to enter ratings. And I'm going to show you this live in just a moment. But you'll notice here there's a couple icons. So this arrow here tells us when I hover over it, if I want to resubmit the same score because perhaps the child is still demonstrating an SKB at the same level, I can keep that same score, but I have to tell the system. The system doesn't automatically know. So I would click that green button, and I'll show you what happens here in just a moment. Another function is this I button. If I hover over the I button, it will tell me when the rating was last entered. Remember, I'm showing you the teacher side right now. If you don't have access to students, you can add yourself to the students if you want to see that. I would just be cautious. Don't enter any data unless you've had prior arrangements with the teacher to help support that role. So as a teacher, when I log in, I can see my data collection down here. So I'm going to click on my data collection, and the spreadsheet is where I can enter scores quickly. These are my students, and when I scroll over, I can see that my new students that just started with me in the winter, they don't have any ratings, okay? They weren't with me in the fall. So I absolutely have to enter ratings for these children. But over here, when I look, because this data system it's a data entry system, it doesn't clear out a previous rating, and that's because of the formative nature of this tool. So I see all of the previous ratings. Well, if I hover over the I see, oh, I added that score this morning. This one was added back in March. That was during the assessment window. But this one, separation from familiar adults, I need to make sure that I enter something there because it wasn't entered since, I didn't do anything since November 13th. But I've been monitoring. And if I need a reminder, I can click on here and I can read through the rubric. Okay, separation from familiar adults. Well, this child, I have some evidence that she's doing the level C, so I can change that to a C. The box turns green, and now the I says it was updated on May 7th. Now let's take a look at the next one, seeking emotional support. This child is still at a level A, okay? But because it's back in the November 13th window, as a data manager, when you generate your learning progression report for the spring, that score would not populate for the learning progression, and it would be inaccurate data. So I want to make sure that I tell the system to resubmit the current grade. So I literally click that button. Boom. Now it's resubmitted. So we know that some children developmentally might be making progress because they are demonstrating skills, knowledges, and behaviors at the same level consistently. But if they haven't changed a level, that's okay. But you still need to tell the system, and you do that by clicking Resubmit Current Grade. Okay? If you have questions about that, our team is available to answer. So those were things that I wanted to show you on the teacher side of things. Now I'm going to log out as the teacher, and I'm going to log back in as the data manager. Remember, as a data manager, you have access to the administration tab. So I would click on administration, and this is where you get to your reports. If you are a data manager who's been doing this for a few years, you will notice an update here for the reports. These two reports right here are now separated, so you no longer have one that you click on and then have to pick one or the other. You can do the ELA SKB ratings report right here, or you can do the ELA learning progression report for EMIS. This is the report that you generate to submit your data into EMIS or EAS. It doesn't say for EAS on there, but you know that this is the data that goes to EMIS and EAS, okay? So you can look at the SKB ratings report if you're interested to see what data has been entered for all of the SKBs, but you definitely need to generate the learning progression report in order to get data for your children to submit for the spring. Now, these reports are really helpful because depending on which one you're looking at, it can give you a snapshot of preschool children's performance levels. On here, you actually select the data collection. There's a start date and an end date. For the spring window, you will want to select February 14th as the start date, and you will want to select June 4th because we said June 3rd would be the last day for teachers to enter data. And even though it's May, I can still click June 3rd today. It's not a big deal. And then you would select your location and then generate your report. As you're generating the report, there's a countdown up here. It says it's successfully requested. And then I see my report down here and I can download it. I can take a look at it. And then over here, I can scroll over and see, okay, I've got a lot of scores for some students, but there are some holes. That was the SKB report, remember? The SKB report has all 72 SKBs. If I'm not doing the full assessment and I'm only using it for my required learning progressions, I can delete the ones that aren't required. I can delete those columns for my own data analysis. That's the SKB report. The learning progression report, you don't want to mess around with deleting columns. Okay, if I'm running the learning progression report, again, select the data collection, select my start date, February 14th, select my end date, June 3rd. I'm going to say this again. The assessment window ends May 14th, but teachers have until June 3rd. I'm going to select June 4th when I run my report. That will capture any data entered during that time period through June 3rd. Select my district, generate the report. And then over here, when I open it up, okay, these are my students that are in that district. For those, play around with it and make sure that all of your children are there. Make sure all of the data is there. If any of the learning progressions are blank, it could be because data is missing in the SKB report. As a reminder, we want current ratings. So if teachers are not familiar with this functionality, we encourage you to share that with them. There are two different versions of the report. The learning progression report is what you submit to EMIS and EAS. We want you to select February 15th as the start date and June 4th as the end date. So again, although teachers have through May 14th to be observing children, we want them to have a little time extra if they need it in order to enter the data into the KReady system. And then you, as the data manager, will generate the report and choose June 4th as that end date. Remember, data managers have until June 28th, but please do it as soon as possible because then that's another thing you can check off of your list as you're done for this school year. Now, one other thing that I want you to know is sometimes a child might have an N for a learning progression score. And you might see that in the bridge form. You might see it in the learning progression score report that you get from KReady. When this happens, it's because a teacher has selected either an N for not accessible, or not yet, maybe an NE, not yet evident. And that could be for various reasons, and the teacher would know why he or she selected N or NE for that child. But when you, as the data manager, submit this data, you have to enter a reason code anytime an N is reported. We have a list of allowable reason codes with an explanation of what they mean, and they are found in the EMIS manual for assessments. If you look closer to the end of that manual, under the score not reported section, you'll see a list of allowable reason codes. If you're going to submit your scores through EAS, you would want to look at the Early Childhood Education Grant Manual, and you'll look at the guidance document that they have on entering scores in EAS to see their allowable reason codes. Currently, there is no column or function in either the Bridge form or the KReady system that allows teachers to document the reason codes. So we encourage you locally to develop some sort of communication process so that teachers can accurately give you the reason as to why there is an N score. And then as an EMIS coordinator, when you report into EMIS, you would select **** and choose a reason code based on the information that the teacher gave you. Only one reason code can be reported for each learning progression and score of an N. If there are multiple learning progressions scored as an N, you can select whatever reason code is appropriate for those N scores. We understand, we know that sometimes children are not able to access certain skills, knowledges, and behaviors, or they might not yet be at the earliest developmental rating in the rating scale. And we understand that. If you have questions about that, we recommend you reach out to your trainer, your SST, or contact us for further support.